Doing today? Welcome to my photography chat live stream where we kind of catch up with the community, talk about photography, and always thank you so much for being here today. And I'd like to let the audience drive the conversations. I generally make this a sort of an open Q&A. If there's any questions you had about photography and specifically OM system cameras and Olympus, I could probably help you best with that. And or anything else that's comes across. And I just literally walked in the door 5 minutes ago. I was out shooting tulips this morning at a farm. It's about an hour away. Took me forever to get out there, get a few shots, and come back. Uh, I'm actually the pictures are loading right now onto my computer while I'm doing the stream because I haven't even seen what I got. But I made a rookie mistake. Somehow, uh, I shot everything in JPEG today. And I think what happened was, because I had it on RAW yesterday, and today I think I turned the color dial to, color, the creative dial in the front to color, and it switched to JPEG, but didn't keep the RAW. So I have to be very conscious of that. I'll double check again to see if that's what happened, because if you're in RAW only shooting, let's say when you have the creative dial turned off, and then you switch it to color mode, it switches the settings to JPEG only themes. But I think if you have RAW plus JPEG set when you have the creative dial off, and then when you turn it on to one of the other modes, it'll keep the RAW plus JPEG. It'll stay in that mode. So I think that's what happened. It'd be nice if it would just automatically go from uh, RAW to JPEG plus RAW when you turn the dial, but I don't think that's what's happening. So I need to double check that, because that was not expecting that. When I was looking at the pictures, I had lunch with David Crook. Oh, David's here. Uh, oh, and thanks for waiting for me this morning. It's only David and me this morning, but I think, and then we had breakfast afterwards. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. So as soon as they're done loading, I'm going to check that, and maybe I can share a few images I got today, cherry pick a few. I did a lot of bracketing. I'd say probably more than half the shots I did plus or minus 2 EV and then 5 frames. So I did as much as -4 and +4 because of very, very high contrast this morning. It was only a few clouds in the sky and the sun was low to the ground. So when I was shooting, a lot of times the sun was in the shot. But generally speaking, I got the initial exposure correct. And my plan was to do some HDR, and it's not as straightforward to do HDR with uh whatchamacallit. It's not as straightforward to do HDR with JPEG. What ends up happening is you get a very surreal look when you combine JPEG images or HDR versus if you're doing raw image HDR, you can get a much more natural, more realistic look. So uh, things did not go as planned this morning, needless to say. And I need to check my chat section because I'm not seeing anything coming up here. So let me see if I can fix that. I don't get it. I don't know why it's not coming up. Oh, I picked the wrong one. 1 sec. Which does remind me, I need to. There we go. All right, very good. I see. Let's see. Pat just became a member. Well, thank you so much for your support, Pat. I really appreciate it. My memberships are just 99 cents a month, and basically it just goes to support the work that I do here to help the photography community via the live stream here on YouTube, the videos, um, and things that I do offline as well with the photo clubs and helping as many people as I can online and off. So thank you so much for your support. And I see Roger's here and Steve, Tim Adams, good to see you. I'm sorry I didn't do uh, I do a photo editing stream every Friday. I had to skip this Friday, unfortunately, uh, because I just had in my mind I had to finish my taxes. So I wanted to get that out of the way before I do anything. That's finally done. So that's all good. And but I'll resume back this coming Friday. And I'm going to have at least one stream on Tuesday, uh, possibly two. But the main event is going to be I have four OM ambassadors are going to be joining me live Tuesday evening, my time, around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard or New York City time, if that helps. And we're going to be sharing. They're going to be sharing their best tips for macro and landscape and birding for OM system cameras. So definitely join us for that. They're also holding a workshop May 2nd, which is going to be, it's actually a 3-day workshop. So there'll be links to that as well. So check out that stream. There'll be links to that as well. If I can grab the link, I'll share it here today. And at the very least, I'll put it into the bottom of this stream. Uh, but you'll get to work with them in a very small groups. It's like 4 or 5 people per instructor, and um, and they're going to be doing hands-on uh, all of the things that we're going to talk about on Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be primarily just sharing their tips and give you a little taste of what they're going to be doing during the workshop. But uh, yeah, I can tell you a lot of people say that it's best to uh, you know invest in yourself as much as you invest in gear, right? So this is one of those things, like the workshops, getting to know your gear and all the capabilities of what it can do. They're not requiring that you use Olympus and OM system cameras. You can go there with any camera that you have. Cameras are quite capable, but there'll probably be a few things that might be unique to OM systems. Uh, but there's certainly alternatives. There's really very little you can't do with any modern digital camera these days, regardless of brand. So look forward to that. And let's see. This coming Tuesday, be sure to join us for that. And it's really I was really flattered when they reached out to me that they wanted me to host a live stream with them. So thank you. If any of you are here today, thank you so much. Okay, and I see Jeff is here. Good to see you, ATR Bear, Robert. Oh, good afternoon. Um, I have a question already. Is that case with an included? Yes. So let me. Do my pictures finished? No, they haven't finished loading yet. Why? Oh, because I did some video. Well, but okay. So here's the grip that I bought on eBay. I'll put a link to that as well. Um, in the chat section for now, but also to the into the bottom of the stream description when the stream's over. I can't do it now. But just to give you an idea, this is sort of a medium-sized grip. It doesn't stick out too much, as you can see. And that's one of the things that I was looking for because I saw some of the wood grips that came out initially, and the wood grip was pretty bulky, right? It stuck out at maybe even a whole centimeter more than this one. Uh, but this case, it was like $48 plus another $5 or $6 shipping, and then whatever tax. I pay 6%. But a couple of things about this case, it's definitely about 90% of what I want in a case, right? Uh, Particularly for cameras that don't have a grip. So It has this sort of minimal, medium-sized grip. It's not small, right? Small would be like a little bump, right? But this is a little more than that. And it makes a huge difference in the handling of this camera. You can comfortably hold this camera vertically without worrying about dropping it. I don't recommend you do that. You always should be two-handed. But when you're not taking pictures and you just want to hold a camera, you can just hold it like this very confidently and not worry about dropping it. Of course, I always have a strap, and so that's the main thing. This is just enough grip to do that. There's a cutout here for the creative dial, so you have to kind of turn. Let me just see if you can see. It does stick out just a little bit, so you don't get your full fingers onto the creative dial anymore. So it takes a little bit more to turn it because it is a stiff dial to begin with. But I think that's a fair compromise to get in exchange a full protection on the front. Not that you really need much, but you get a full cover in the front. So it's more of a cosmetic uh, thing or aesthetic. I would say it's more of an aesthetic to have a full case like this. And it comes in a variety of colors. I think at least it comes like in a coffee brown color and maybe a green, like an army green. But that's that. The other thing is the bottom is a full metal plate. Okay, so it's going to, when you mount it, and then also look here, right? It has a separate screw for the tripod. This is really critical because I have a lot of half leather cases. For example, where's where's my Pen F? It was right there. Oh, here. Okay, I put it in a different spot. A lot of half leather cases, the tripod screw mount is built into the screw that screws into your camera. So while this does offer some protection, meaning the weight is distributed across the bottom, and you're not putting wear and tear on the tripod screw on the camera directly. The problem I found is when I mount my Arca Swiss plates onto this, is when I go to unscrew them, the center screw comes out together with it. And then I have to get a pair of pliers to take this screw off the Arca Swiss plate and put it back into the camera. So it's kind of a hassle when the screw is mounted together, is all in one like that. With this one, it's completely separate and it's still centered with the lens, right? So this is a nice full metal plate bottom, nice and thick, um, so that you got really good protection on the bottom. No pressure at all on your tripod screw mount on the camera. And then again, if you do mount anything on here, it's fully distributed across the bottom of the camera. So there's less chance of you breaking your tripod mount or the bottom of your camera when you mount this onto your tripod. Uh, and of course, you have full access to your battery door, your memory card, I'm sorry, your memory card door, your battery door, no problems there. And then your ports on the side for USB-C and HDMI, your mic jack, your headphone jack. And then this fully articulates out, no problem, you know, twisting this in any direction that you need. Uh, so there's only two things that would make this a 100% case for me. Right now it's 90%. And it's not as big a problem as I thought it would be because I've been using this for a few days now. But the edges here along the bottom, they're sharp. I mean, it's not like razor sharp, it's not gonna cut you. But when I'm holding it like this, you can see your palm rests directly onto this corner, right? So it's a little bit uncomfortable if you're gonna hold your camera one-handed the whole time. Also, you'll notice my pinky is resting here. Also, this is kinda sharp. So it'd have been nice if they had rounded this off. What I might do, but I've been using it the last couple of days, and I didn't notice any fatigue at all here on my palm like I thought it might happen. because I am holding my camera usually two-handed almost all the time anyway, so none of the weight is pushed onto my palm. So what I might do is get a little file anyway and just sand this down a little bit so it's rounded. Okay, so that was the one major thing, but it's not as major as I thought it would be. Actually, last couple of days have been no problem at all. I didn't notice. Uh, the other thing is, I wish this was an Arca Swiss plate, you know, so that I don't have to attach a separate Arca Swiss plate. I have a nice thin one here that I can use. So when I put this on, um, so I put this on, it doesn't take up much room at all, as you can see. Um, it's very, very low profile, and it fits there. But it'd been nice if they'd have built that into the case. The reason they didn't, I think whoever designed this, maybe they were just lazy. But what they would need to do is bevel this part of the plate, bevel it in a little bit, and come back out because it is a little bit too wide here along the base to fit a standard Arca Swiss mount or clamp. So they'd have to reduce the size in the center here just a little bit. So they could have beveled it in to come in like this, come in and come back down so that they could have incorporated an Arc Swiss plate directly. So if there's a case designer out there watching and you make a case exactly like this, round the edges and make this Arca Swiss, you will have a 100% winner on your hands. Now, one viewer commented that, uh, why bother with the half leather part, right? It's like just get the grip with the base plate and you're done. And that's certainly a legitimate rationing, right? It's a very practical or pragmatic decision because currently they do sell some standard base plates with the wood grip. But like I said, I thought the wood grip was a little bit too bulky compared to this. I haven't seen, they're eventually going to come out. But as of right now, they had the wood grip only. It was a little bit too bulky, the ones that I've seen so far. So I didn't want it for that. The second reason was this was the cheapest one. All the other ones were like 55, 65, 75, $85. They were like between 10 to $30 more for a grip only. What I did notice though is that the grip only ones did have Arca Swiss plate built in. So I was a little bit torn between, do I get the Arca Swiss plate and give up and live with a little bit thicker grip here, or but ultimately I decided I wanted the smaller grip. And also I think the leather just gives it a certain aesthetic. Particularly if you get a different color, you can personalize the camera a little bit more. So I think this makes the camera a little bit more personalized. Uh, again, it's purely aesthetic. One other thing I'll show you is you'll see that there's a little ledge here. So when you close this, your screen is also protected from when you set it down. It's not going to get bumped. But this is an excellent leather case. The fit and finish is very, very good. I didn't really have any issues. It was a little bit warped here when I got it. I just kind of pushed it in. Um, but overall, it's pretty much spot on in terms of design, fit and finish, quality. It is real leather. I'd have been content with just pleather, but this is a real leather case, and I'm really happy with it. So, um, Robert, I will let me grab the link for that real quick. Okay. So if anybody's interested, that's my affiliate link to eBay. So I'll earn a commission if you buy one. I'll make like $1, but if that. But every little bit helps, believe me, especially after I just paid for these trees to get cut back, and I gotta get my roof and gutters cleaned, and just yeah. So much for my S1R dreams. Could have bought an S1R, the Mark II, for that matter, for all the money I spent on trimming these trees and stuff. But yeah, I probably 99% of my income, outside of just food and utilities, go to photography, gear that helps me to buy things so you don't have to. Because I've bought things that sucked. Um, and it gives me a little bit of perspective as well, so I can better answer questions. When people are always, asking, how is this camera relative to that camera? I have a pretty good sense of all the cameras now, and I can tell you, you know, they're all really good. To be honest, they're all really good. It's just a matter of, size, weight, features, things like that that you want to get to. So, anyhow, I'm sorry I spent a long time on that case, but I'm really happy with it overall. Okay. David, yeah, David, good to see you. And Zoltan, good to see you. Uh, and Ulf, oh my goodness, Ulf from Sweden. Wow, it's been a long time. Hope you're doing well. Glad to see you again. And I see Marco's here. Happy Sunday. Good to see you, Mark. And thanks for helping me and Gary out with that SSD drive question. He really appreciates it, by the way. He asked me to send you a big thank you. So just so you know, he was very appreciative. And Andrew Banner, good to see you. Andrew's a fellow YouTuber here. So definitely check out Andrew's channel. It's under the same name here as his name. And he has really terrific content that is primarily photography based, right? He does shoot with Olympus. I think it's an EM1 Mark II, but he doesn't even talk about that at all. He talks about his photography, how he composes scenes, myths on YouTube, all of that. And I have a great respect for the work that you're doing there. And I think, you know, for any photographer, regardless of skill level, you have so much to offer on your channel. So thanks for coming in today. It's good to see you. And I recommend everyone check out Andrew's channel. And Wayne Cox, good to see you. This tied towards screen, the great Vanzini. Yep, big Tulip photo shoot next week here. Oh, cool, cool. Um, and Seraphim, good to see you. And Olympus M43, good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, this is Siegfried. And Siegfried is another excellent resource for Micro Four Third photographers, specifically Olympus and OM system photographers. He has a terrific blog. If you guys have not been to his blog, where is it? Blog. This happens every time, doesn't it? Every time I try to find a link to your blog. I mean, I go to it like once a month or once every other month, not as often as I should. But be patient with me. I definitely want to share your vlog with everyone as well. It's worth the wait. Um, why isn't it right here at the top? I just don't understand because I keep adding stupid links to my bookmarks here, and then it gets kind of pushed down until I visit it again. When I find it this time, I'm gonna move it up. What's this? Almost, almost. Come on. Oh, first fly of the season, flying around. I don't know if you guys can see it. God. Oh, it should be probably on this tab. 1 second. Usually when I type in blog, yours right up. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do it. I gotta do it. My Olympus OMD. There it is. All right. All right. So this goes to one of the articles about workspace. But if you want to, particularly if you have the OM3 or Pen F, he has a lot of great articles that he's written in depth about the creative dial, how to use the creative dial, different profiles that he's set and explains everything. Siegfried is an amazing, excellent resource for Olympus users, home system. Okay, and let's see. Lino Temis, good evening from Puglia. Wow, I don't even know where that is, Puglia. But thank you for being here. And Andrew's blushing. It's okay, Andrew. You know, it's well earned, well deserved, I should say. And Lino Temis says, I just gifted my son, 12, his first real camera, the Olympus EM10 Mark II. He's very happy, as he should be. That is such an awesome camera. And I would say it's the pinnacle of the Olympus camera system for entry-level cameras. All of the Mark IIs, the M5 Mark II, EM10 Mark II, EM1 Mark II, these three cameras are just as good a value today as they were when they were released. They're extremely capable, tons of features, well built, all metal builds, and excellent image quality. And it was the EM10 Mark II that converted me from my Nikon full frame system to Micro Four Thirds. I didn't think it would. I mean, I knew nothing about Micro Four Thirds when I bought it. I just wanted a small camera to take with me that had interchangeable lenses. It was between it and the Fuji X-T10 at the time. And I just didn't like how the Fuji X-T10 looked. You know, I wasn't a big fan. I said, "Oh, the Olympus is a little better looking camera. I'll take that one." That was the extent of my research. It was just very cosmetic. And then turns out I'm very glad I did. And nothing wrong with Fujis. Fujis are terrific. They take beautiful. I mean, my XH2, uh, yeah, they're gorgeous. I have no problems with Fuji, but I went all in on them because of the EM10 Mark II. So that's my number one choice. I'm a big fanboy, so I'm going to be very biased when I talk about home systems and Olympus cameras. But I think they've earned it. They make, I think, the finest cameras of all the camera systems out there. Just my opinion, of course. And Enrique, good to see you from Fort Lauderdale. Enrique Iglesias. Okay, I don't even know who that is, Enrique Iglesias. I'm so ignorant. And the Great Bean Cine says, "You're very calm, Rob. When I get a fly, I consider it a war." Oh man, no, you know I need to buy a new bug zapper. Uh, the one that I had before died. I keep a bug zapper right by the back door that leads into my kitchen because you know I got the trash can there, and then I got the door open usually for Ellie. So it's just a you know easy way for bugs to get in and out. All right. Oh, that's it, man. I caught up with the chat. Did I miss? Maybe let's see if we can cherry pick some images here that I took today. So, oh, you know, the first few were raw. Oh, you can't. Hold on. The first few images, this was a raw image. So this is where the tulips were. So this was just some old tractor sitting there. Eh, not a great shot. No, it's okay. Let me see if I can close down some other. Not a great shot, but see what else we got. think this is just sort of a scene that I took. All I shot with today was the OM3 and 17 millimeter f1.8. Just as you saw when I was holding the camera up, this is what I shot today, and the image is just finished loading while I was jibber jabbering there. But I think after these first few images, everything went to JPEG because I wanted to use a color profile, and I forgot to, I just didn't double check if it went to. This one is blurry. Man, it was so windy. I had to use shutter speeds like 1/10,000th of a second because it was so windy. This is one of my shots. I was at 1/4000th of a second, and look, it's still blurry because of the wind. That's just crazy. I'm gonna have a lot of blurry shots like that. Even this one. Get this. Hold on. Let me set the zoom so it's not like. I mean, that's just how windy it was. See that? Look at this blur. It's just insane. How about this shot? Okay, this one was clear. So maybe the wind slowed down a bit. Oh no, you know what? Here I was using the grad ND filter. See how the sky's a little bit darker here? And then when I go to the next one, I didn't use the grad ND. So the grad ND is basically taking multiple images and stacking them to uh, reduce the exposure for the grad ND part, as far as I can tell. I don't know exactly how it works, but clearly it's not taking a single shot. It's merging like a high-res shot mode and focus stacking and live end. All these features are basically using computational features of combining multiple images together and then doing what it needs to do to give the effect that you want. But this one is sharp at 1/4000th, but my depth of field is too shallow. So these are horrible pictures. Let's go to the JPEGs now. Here I was testing some different macros. But this is when I switched to oh, here, David took a picture of me. I'm in these giant wooden shoes. And so the first few shots are just to kind of get started and get warmed up, right? And then from here on out, I really tried to find a composition. So this one here, I thought, I got three different colored tulips here. There's sort of a reddish one, yellow and purple, and then there's, various ones in the background. Uh, and then I was trying different apertures, not different apertures, but I was trying to get the background out of focus. So, so this one I was at f4 because I wanted to make sure all three of these were in focus. And then I said, okay, let me try wide open and blur out the background. Now only this flower is in focus, and I wasn't happy with that. I think I think this will probably be my final. I went to have 6.3 because I wanted everything in focus. I was all over the place with this. Clearly, I was trying different apertures, different distances, different compositions. My problem with this was this purple one here has this red flower right behind it, and I just could not get an angle that would separate it from this red one. So yeah, this is a loser. This shot here, I was trying to find one single yellow color tulip amongst all the red. This didn't work out too well. So I went to another one, and that didn't look good. So I tried. Let's see. I think this is the final one. I finally found one that I liked, and that was this one here. Um, so 17 millimeter f1.8, 1/5000th of a second. I kind of like this one here. The composition here. Was a little bit too cramped because it was touching here. This one, I think I was a little bit too high up, so I wanted to go a little bit lower. So this was the final composition. Uh, just to kind of walk you through my thought process. I didn't like this one because my finger's in the shot, or this might be another tulip over here on the left side. So I said, okay, that sucks. So I took another one and I said, okay, I didn't move over far enough, and I'm a little bit too high up because you can still see all these people standing here. I didn't like that either, these people standing here. So I said, let me try again. So I waited for them to leave, and then I got this shot. And it was this shot that I decided to go a little bit lower, and this was my final shot. So that's my thought process in coming up with this final composition. Um, okay, and then let's see. This was there's David taking a shot. And my next idea was to come up with some composition with this what do you call this, windmill? And I ran into several challenges here. So I took a test shot to see. Here I'm with the 17 millimeter f9. So yeah, I chose f9. I wanted a very deep depth of field. I wanted this to be in focus. And I said, oh, this is terrible. Um, but it was just a test shot. I just wanted to take a shot because it's hard to see the camera when it's down low. I'm holding it down low and take the picture. So what I do is I will I'll flip the screen around so I can see it like this, and I'll hold the camera one-handed now because I have a grip, and take the vertical shot this way. And I'm looking down, but with my dying eyes, and it was very bright, it was hard to see the screen. So I took a test shot and then checked the EVF for, what it looked like. And that's when my thinking started going, right? So I started thinking, okay, uh, let me try the grad ND. So this is a live grad ND filter, but I didn't bring it down far enough. So my next shot is I adjusted the grad ND filter to come down even more. I said, okay, that's about right, but there's too much sky. Uh, and the F11 didn't really give me the sunburst that I wanted also, nor am I really getting the depth of field I was expecting because, I'm focusing so close. So after a couple of shots like that, I kept moving because this first shot, I didn't like this flower here in the front, and I didn't like all these people standing here. So this one, I moved. I said, okay, this is almost the perfect composition, but there's too many people here. I was waiting for them to kind of pose or do because everybody's posing in front of this freaking windmill. Oh. So I said, okay, let me keep moving forward. So I moved up another 5 or 6 feet. I took another picture with some different colored flowers here. I was trying to see what kind of flowers were in the foreground that would complement the rest of the scene. And this one didn't quite work for me. And I'll just jump ahead. I kept trying. I kind of liked how this one was kind of open and facing with it kind of open and bloomed that you could see inside the flower. But I didn't like it, and I didn't like these people in the scenes. So I kept going, 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 and I ended up with this. At this point, I just kind of gave up on uh, waiting for people to not be in the shot. So I'm just going to clone them out later. All right, so these are test shots. Yeah, this I decided to bracket. So this is really one shot. These 5 images. Because I was like, okay, instead of grad ND, because what I was worried about when I was using the grad ND before, I was getting that motion blur in the scene. So I said, maybe I'll just bracket the shots and then I can exposure blend them manually in Photoshop later. So that's why I took another set of shots, very similar to the previous ones, so that I could exposure blend them myself manually later on. So I'm going to take this shot, which has a really nice, bright, very well exposed flowers, and then I'll probably take this shot here and blend in the sky, and then, just clone out these people standing around. All right, so my next objective here was, okay, let's try getting a single flower like tulip. And this horizontal composition didn't work for me. I'm still in bracketing mode, it looks like. Maybe not. I decided, I didn't like this after I looked at it a couple of times, so I decided, okay, let me do a vertical. So this was my final composition for this particular scene, and I think this works well. My problem with the horizontal shot was, I don't know, it's just too much negative space here around the flower. If you're going to do negative space, you don't do it with a scene like this, right? You would need a single flower with nothing in the background. All the things you think about when you think about negative space and minimalism. It didn't work here. So that's why I decided to go vertical and fill as much of the frame as I can with the flower and not have so much horizontal space. Typically, when I have a lot of verticals, I do like to go with a horizontal uh, composition, but it didn't work here. I think this flowed a lot better. Another shot of David there, my photo buddy. This was probably an accidental shot. Um, this didn't work. This didn't work. I kept missing focus, but finally I got the focus in. I thought this was kind of interesting. I'm not going to be able to do much with this because it's a JPEG, but um, yeah. Anyhow, let's see if there's anything else of interest. This is towards the end. Yeah, this is near the end of the thing. They let us take like 5 tulips home. So we got a basket. I picked out 5 tulips. David picked out 5 tulips. And I tried to put this together. This field behind the basket, there's no tulips here. There's a couple of daisies in here. So I wanted to get a picture of these tulips against just a plain background. I don't know if this really worked. And then here's another tractor. I put the tulips on top. I don't know what happened to the shots of the caboose. This didn't work out too well. One of the tulips fell on the ground, so I was like, okay, let me try a couple of things here. That didn't work. Anyway, I need to edit these to some extent. I'm going to edit those and post them up on my Instagram and Flickr. I'm, I'm not going to have a lot of wiggle room though because they're all JPEGs. But it's okay. The exposures are pretty good on all of them, so I won't have to push and pull too much exposure-wise. I just have to think about the composition, the colors, which really is part of composition, right? And which ones kind of make sense. I think this one, this one's got some potential. I might have to kind of clone out a little bit in the background, make it even more minimal. I like that one. I don't know. We'll see. That's what I did this morning just before the stream. Okay. We go back to the chat and Lauren is here. Hey, Lauren, how are you? Bring in the army for that fly. Ellie attack dog for flies. Well, Ellie doesn't worry about bugs too much, but if when I'm out working on my car, for example, like I mean, the car is in good shape, but when I change the oil in my car, uh, I'm laying down there, and if there's bugs flying around me, she will attack the bugs to protect me. I remember I was laying down there changing oil one time, and there were all these little yellow jacks. They're little weird-looking bees flying around me. I just kind of just wave my hand. I'm not worried about them. But Ellie, man, she's like, "Ah." She's trying to get them. She's definitely very good protector. No question. Anything comes near me, she's like, she is Johnny on the spot, man. And the photo is an attractor. You mean the flowers are attracting the flies? Oh, and Tim said, I'd like the tractor shot in black and white. Yeah, possibly. Possibly there's some potential there for black and white. And then you should go back to the tractor at night and do it. Oh, that would be cool, except it's paid. the paid entrance, man. I paid $31 to get into that place, and then I probably spent another $20 in gas driving to and from, and then I spent another $23 on breakfast. I'm out like $65, and all I got were a couple of pictures. But that's how it goes sometimes, right? Okay. Uh, Marsha's here. Good to see you. And and Rom Trek, the tulips in the mill shot really needs a tripod and focus stack. Yes, that is true. Uh, I did bring a tripod with me, but I didn't think of that. I was just in a hand-holding kind of mood. Um, and it was so windy, it's annoying, right? When that wind's blowing in your ears and stuff and cold and I'm a fair weather photographer. I really like calm, no wind, maybe a light breeze is okay, but no wind, cloudy, partly cloudy skies and warm temperatures. It was freaking cold and windy. I mean, it wasn't so cold, but the wind made it feel a lot colder. It was like in the 40 something degree. I don't know what that is in Celsius, maybe 10 Celsius. Uh, but the winds were gusting at like 20 miles an hour, whatever that is in kilometers, about 40 kilometers, roughly, right? Maybe 35 kilometers. I, you know, so it was cold and windy. Without people, the scale of the mill works well. It could be real. Yeah, exactly, right? With the people in the shot, it really definitely, yeah, you're right. I guess subconsciously I was thinking of that. I didn't think of it consciously that people were distracting, taking away from the perspective, right? Or scale. Um, because from the angle I was at, I was probably about, you know, uh, I was probably a good 10 to 30, about 10 to 15 meters away from the mill when I took the shot, like, 40, 50 feet. And so the tulips themselves wouldn't affect the scale as much as the people standing right next to the mill. But you're right, a bracketed shot would have worked, and I wouldn't have to worry about depth of field. And Randy is in the house. Oh my goodness, Randy, how you doing? Randy rarely makes it in anymore, but it's good to see you, Randy. The Great Vanzini Wooden Shoe Tulip Farm here in Oregon, just north of Salem. Quite a large thing. Yeah, got millions of tulips there. So many tulips, just rows and rows. And tulips, the national symbol for the Dutch, but tulips originally came from Turkey into continental Europe. I lived 2 years in Holland near Amsterdam, and your picture reminded me of Amsterdam. Thanks for, yeah. I didn't know that that was a Dutch thing, but now it all makes sense, right? The wooden shoes, the tulips, that weirdly painted wind, the colors. It just feels very Dutch now. And I think the Dutch make good bread too, right? Bread and wooden shoes. It's so funny. I met somebody from one of the European countries. I remember her name. But she came to the United States and she was going to the grocery store and she saw the bread expiration dates were like, 3, 4 weeks. She goes, "My God, what are they putting into your bread?" Where I live, the bread is fresh and you have to eat it within a few days. Otherwise, it goes stale. Your bread here lasts for weeks. I'll never forget that. And Zoltan says, "Beautiful pictures." Oh, thank you. Thank you, Zoltan. They're okay. Nothing special, but it's more, I should do a video on it, right? Like a vlog or something. that's something that's easy to vlog, right? Because I can talk about my thought process or the compositions I come up with. My problem is I just don't have I just don't have that very high level of confidence in my images, to be honest. I don't think they're epic or special in any way. They're just shots anybody could take. But so I don't know. It never stopped me before though from vlogging when I started this channel, right? So I don't know. I should start vlogging. But you got a little mini vlog today in the stream because that's all I would do in the vlog is talk about these pictures. But if I was the actual vlog, I'd have to have a ton more B-roll, right? And when I'm out shooting, I just want to take pictures. I don't want to worry about video. And this side towards screen says the Pentax Q is on its deathbed. Understand it's a solar battery inside the camera that's causing drain, so I'm retiring. Oh, you're a Pentax. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't realize the battery was soldered in. Huh. Yeah, that's and this is true for most electronics. They have a lifespan, even though a lot of things don't have moving parts that are in our cameras, aside from the shutter, right? Uh, all the electronics are going to die in it. In this case, it's the battery, which makes total sense. But you have capacitors and all kinds of other parts that have a shelf life, and they're eventually going to just wear out, whether you use the camera or not. There's a shelf life on electronics. Uh, just the normal oxidation that the air causes. So buying a really old digital camera is, risky. More than 10 years, make sure you get it cheap. If it's like 20 years old, that's a huge gamble. You might be fine. I got cameras that are 20 years old, they work fine. But I know a lot of people that have old cameras and they start failing for one reason or another. Like one person, they had a Nikon D3, fabulous camera. Still works, but the internal battery that keeps the clock going is dead. I don't know if it can be replaced easily. Probably not, but uh, okay, so no big deal. You have no time and date on your images. It's always going to say, you know, January of 1975 or whatever date is baked into the ROM. Uh, but the problem is, it goes beyond that. Some of the features in the camera rely on the clock, the internal clock to be working. And if the internal clock's not working, you lose access to some features. So, case in point, she cannot use the intervalometer in her camera or the self timer. There was a couple of things that she couldn't use in her camera because the clock was dead. Essentially, the battery was dead for the internal clock. Um, so that's why I say, even if you get a camera, that's 10 years old, I wouldn't be surprised if the internal battery for the internal clock is gone. Sometimes they use a capacitor that will keep the date and time current, for a couple of days after you take the battery out, and you don't have to. So there's no internal battery. They use a capacitor, which at its simplest level is kind of like a battery, but uh, chemically they're very different. And those capacitors dry out, right? And they go bad. So 10-year-old plus capacitors are good for 10, maybe 20 years. Beyond that, capacitors start to dry out, and all the electronics in the camera rely on capacitors for one thing or another. And yeah, so anyway, Adam Farr says, I'm always kind of curious, do you or others have the struggle of taking too many lenses versus never using certain lenses? Makes me feel guilty sometimes to have the lenses and never use. No. Um, I'm at a point now, yeah, I have a ton of lenses. And there's a lot of lenses I don't use very often, but I don't feel guilty for not using them. Like today, I went out with just the 17 millimeter. I brought the 40 to 150 kit lens. I was thinking about doing some macro, but it was too windy for macro. So I ended up just using the 17 the whole time. The 17 is not one I use very often, but I decided to take it today because I knew we were going to be in a field and open land. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I can get some nice wide shots. And if I get up close, because I don't want to do a flower portrait, right? I want to do more environmental type photos where I'm including a lot of the flowers together, leaves and all that. But yeah, the 17 is definitely one I haven't taken out in a long time, but I took it out today. So, when the time comes and I'm in the mood for a certain focal length, I have no problem or no regrets for ever purchasing that lens, even though it might be like a year or two before I use it again. Because there's going to come a time when, hey, let me take this lens out, see what it's like. And I'm very happy with the shots I got today, more or less. Not super happy because of the wind and cold, sort of takes away from my my mojo when it comes to doing photography. Because when it's a beautiful day and I'm not like, you know, I'm feeling good, uh, I, I I feel much more confident in kind of images that I'm going to take. But and it's good when you go out with other photographers, right? Or go by yourself. But if you're going to go with someone, go with another photographer because they can appreciate and understand, like David, waiting sometimes 10, 15 minutes for me to finish in my little like, space. But I'm working a scene, right? Like that windmill. I was probably there about 10 or 15 minutes trying to get those shots, waiting for people to move out of the way or moving a little closer, moving back, trying different apertures. uh, but yeah, the short answer is no, I have no regrets for any of the lenses that I bought. I know that eventually I'll want to use it and I'll enjoy using it. I do. And I'm trying to think if there's any exceptions to that. The only exception, it's not really an exception because I'm still glad I have this lens, even though I use it even less than the 17, and that is the 75 millimeter f1.8. I just have I got to take that lens out more. But when I did take it out, I really like the images that I got with it. Let me show you one of my favorite images with that lens. And I have not used that lens in a long freaking time. Um, and for those of you that have been following my stream a while, you know which image I'm going to show you. This one here. This is like a 30, I forget how many pictures I took, about 30 that I put down here. Yeah, 30 high-res shots with the exit date is here, the EM1 Mark II and the 75 millimeter. This is probably one of the few times I took it out and was ever serious with the lens. Way back in 2019 is when I took this picture. But yeah, this is about 30 high-res shots and then all stitched together as a pano. And when you punch in, you can see every little rivet in this building. Uh, that's one of my favorite shots. It's 325 megapixel image. I think I did sort of a collage here, but here's the whole image up here, and then these arrows point to, like you can see the little wheels, you can see all the bricks and the individual windows, all of that in this shot. So it's pretty amazing. This lens is so sharp. Uh, man, it's a great lens, but yeah, I don't have any regrets. So don't worry about it. If you have a lens, you don't like the lens, okay? For example, I ended up not liking my 14 to 150, although a lot of people get great results with it. I never had the last the last few months I owned that lens, I didn't have very good luck with it, and I didn't like the image from it. When I first got the lens, I was very content. I was like, man, kind of a do-it-all, weather sealed kind of lens. And I was very happy with the images, but for some reason, the last few months I was using it, because I was using that lens a lot. I don't know what happened, but the lens just turned bad on me, and uh, I got rid of it. And Lawrence says temps in the 80s around Paso Robles in California. Cooling going forward by 10 degrees. One day, not too long ago, it was 90. Wow. I might like California. I can't afford to live in California, man. I mean, I thought it was expensive here, but California, man. I mean, it's not cheap here. I think the average home price in the metro area is like 750,000. I think is the average. Uh, my little matchbox house here is not worth anything near that. It's expensive because I live kind of in a very old neighborhood. Let's just put it that way. It's very old, and my house is like 80 years old, almost Civil War era. Not really, but feels like it. Paint's peeling every. I gotta paint it. It's so much work. And the trees are so huge because the trees are like 80 years, right? At least. They're humongous and just wow, it was so much money to trim those back. They did an amazing job, but man, what happened to like $1,000 to cut a tree down? Now it's like, 3, 4 times that just to trim the branches. Oh, bread machine, that's cool. I've always thought about getting a bread machine. Andrew says historically the Dutch were big colonizers, as were a number of European countries, but the Dutch are incredible civil engineers. Huge amounts of the Netherlands is reclaimed land. Wow, interesting. The Dutch. And Zoltan said, "That's right, Rob. European bread and American bread is like apples and oranges. Bread have the culture thing in some Europe countries." Oh, you lost your bid by $10 in 1 minute. Yeah, I um I keep losing bids like that on an S1R. I'll bid time to time, like an $1,100 range, and somebody will just outbid me a little bit. But I don't want to pay more than 1,100 for an S1R, the Mark One. And right now, I don't know if I can even spend 1,100 on one. It's just too much. I just spent too much money on that, and I had to pay a bunch in taxes. Not that much. I don't earn that much, but it's a lot to me. A lot less than trees cost, though. That's for sure. Like guitar amps, the caps go bad. Yep. So they have a term called, in electronics, like amps, amps in particular, right? Use a lot of caps. They call it recapping, right? Oh, why did my chat jump all the way up to the top? I hate when that happens. Oh, it even had the grip with it. Wow, yeah, that's worth, you know, well, I don't know what the used ones are worth, but brand new, they were like 300. Now, that's not to say Okay, going back to lenses, regrets, and things like that. I don't have any regrets about, but I do have regrets for lots of stuff. Let's say that. Of course, nothing comes to mind now because I never use it, so it's out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. I can't think of anything now, but there's definitely a lot of gear and things that I've bought. I mean, I can think of personal stuff that I bought that I regret buying and never used. Like the battery in my car is 8 years old now. I think I can make it another year. It's getting a little bit slow. It's cranking the engine slower and slower. I charge it on my I have a battery charger. I charge it sometimes, and then it's good for another month. But uh, I bought this device to preserve the ROM in the car computer because when you change the battery, the computer resets and everything that it remembered is gone. Stupid things like on my car in particular, something like I don't know. I read something somewhere at the time that it loses settings and things that and memories of things that may be kind of important when you change the battery. So this does is it preserves that by plugging in. Anyway, I regret buying. I'm never going to use because now I'm scared to plug in anything into my car's computer that wasn't designed by the manufacturer and designed specifically to do what it's supposed to do by the manufacturer. This is some third party, probably made in China, device. What if I plug that thing in and it jacks up my car computer? That's going to be a lot worse than losing memory setting things, right? I mean, it could be something as simple as losing the memory settings on your power seat. I don't have power seats, but oh, I don't have, yeah, I don't have power seats. So, or memory seat. I don't have to worry about that, but it was other things. It's just things like that. It's weird. I was thinking about that today. I would ask about things I regret. And Darko's here. Good to see you. And interesting, I went out today with the 12 to 40, 41, 50, and 60 macro. I made a point in my video that I sometimes don't take the 60 and always regret not. It's very rare I travel light on lenses. Yeah. I um I try to travel light one or two lenses when I can. It just forces me to find the composition, right? I'm pretty content with a zoom lens. Like I like the 14 to 42 kit lens and 12 to 40 pro. I like the kit lens better because it's smaller. Uh, but when I'm working with the kit lens, zoom, I'm at a point now that I'm not trying to be lazy. I'm always looking for a composition first, and then I think about what focal length will work best for that. So zoom lens helps me accomplish that. Uh, but today I felt like, you know what? Let me just force myself with the 17 millimeter. I don't because I almost was going to bring the 12 to 40 Pro for my, with the OM3 because I'm pretty good at finding a composition and thinking about the focal length that I would need to get that composition. A lot of beginners, they get the zoom lens and they get lazy and they use the zoom lens to find the composition, not the other way around, right? I think it's better to find the composition that you want, whatever it is you want to take a picture of, and then think about what focal length will work best for that. And that's a good time to get a zoom or to use a zoom lens is when you just want to take one lens and you're at a point where you're not worried about, are you going to miss something because you didn't bring the right lens, right? Uh, but today I felt like, I never shot. I've never been to this place before, and I never shot tulips like this before, like fields of tulips. So the lazy choice would be to bring a zoom lens and try to find compositions using the zoom lens. But I decided to go with the 17 and force myself to find the composition that will work with the 17. If that makes sense to everyone, because that's that's just the way I do it, my approach, right? I mean, everybody works differently, their brain works differently. So I'm not saying one way is right or wrong, right? But I do think, just my opinion, I think a lot of beginners get lazy and use a zoom lens and try to find compositions with zoom. And I think it should be the other way. Find the composition and think about the focal length that you need. Just my opinion. But a lot of people, their brain works differently, right? Maybe that's not the way to go. But that's what works for me, or what I think is helping me to improve my photography. Work that way. And the getting into the Z6 original and shooting at night, this cam with the 40 f2 is a great street beast, and the AF is just fine. Wondering how it got such a better. Oh, the original Z6. Wow. That was one of their first mirrorless cameras, right? And you can get them for 1,000 now. So far, see what happens in the next couple months. Right now, you can get them for less than 1,000. And I got nothing bad to say about Nikon color science and their cameras build quality. I was a Nikon shooter for many years. Not that I've been shooting that long to begin with. For a lot of the years, I've been shooting, what, 10, 11 years now? Not that long. But for 4 or 5 of those, the Nikon guy, full on. Started with a D80 or something, a D7100, a D750, had all the lenses across the board for it, sold it all. But if Randy's still here, Randy and I swapped. I sent him my 750. He sent me his Nikon DF. We did an even swap. At the time, the two cameras were worth about the same. Uh, I think now I'm a little bit ahead though with the DF. Not that it matters. I'm never going to sell it, but uh, I've never been unhappy with a Nikon image. Right? I switched to Micro Four Thirds primarily for the size and weight, the convenience, and all the advanced and a lot of the features and customizability that the EM10 Mark II gave me. I was able to travel a lot lighter to my photo job with that camera. And I did a lot of professional work with the M10 Mark II, paid work, which led to my career in, I say career, I don't get that many jobs anymore. A little pissed. It's just too competitive because my level of photography for that kind of work is I would say, I wouldn't say expert, okay, but certainly very professional work that I create for my clients, right? I've seen better than me, obviously. There's a lot of better photographers, but they charge way more. I'm like right at that cusp of being really good, but if you can get a little better, you can charge a lot more. It's just that little bit extra that people will pay a lot for. But the problem is I'm at that level that just my guess, right? Because I've lost a couple of clients over the last year uh, because of my pricing. Because I see the photographers that they use now, they're not as good as me. But they must be charging about half what I charge. It's very competitive here. That's the only reason I can think of. There's one photographer that is better than me. They are much better than, and they have a much broader range of skill sets that a lot of them do things that I can't do. And they charge a lot more, but the agent is willing to pay for that. And that's fine. No qualm. She still gives me jobs like little jobs, right? Uh, the jobs that, I charge for, prices that I charge for, I charge anywhere from 250 to 500 for the jobs that she sends me. But uh, the jobs that I see for her other properties, things that this other photographer does, they do an excellent job, better than I can do, and much broader range of services, like drone shots. Uh, Really, it's the drone shots, but also the marketing materials. They provide a lot of marketing materials, and anyhow, he charges a lot more, but they're willing to pay for that for the higher end properties. The properties I shoot are like less than you know, like the average household in this area. I told you it was 750,000. Properties that are shoot are like in that range between between 500 and a million, and I just can't charge very much. Ironically, I mean, I know that sounds like I mean, it sounds like a ton of money to me. I could never afford a house like that. But for the area that I live in, it's not that much. That's kind of the average run of the mill type house. And she gives me those jobs because my work is competent, very good, professional level, but it's not so good that she's going to hire me for her multi-million property, which again, $2, $3 million houses around here, that could still be like a townhouse. I mean, like 2,000 square feet. I did shoot one property. Uh, they were asking 4 million for. It was about a 3,000 square foot town, $4 million for a townhouse. But it's location, obviously, in downtown Alexandria's premium location. But my house is nicer than that townhouse by far. My house is maybe 10% of that price. Oof. Anyhow, enough about that. Uh, oh, you posted some nature stuff on the Z. Okay, we'll check that out. Check that out. And let's see. My EM5 Mark One loses time when I change batteries. Would that be that internal battery or backup pack? Could be either. I'm not sure exactly what EM5 one uses, but either way, you're out, right? What I've heard was try this. Use a put a fully charged battery in. Okay, fully charge your regular battery and leave it in there overnight. Set the time, obviously, and you put the battery in. Leave the battery in there overnight and then take the battery out for a few minutes, put it back in, see if the time and date got lost. Uh, if it loses time and date after just taking the battery out for a few minutes, yeah, the capacitor or whatever battery inside your camera is totally gone. What I do is I try to leave a fully charged battery in the camera. All my cameras behind me, they all have batteries in, for the most part. There might be one or two there without one. But I leave batteries in them because of this issue. Because even if you have an internal battery in the camera, if you leave the camera sitting there without any battery in it, the internal battery is going to drain eventually. My EM5 Mark III, for example, yeah, after a day or two, if I don't have a battery in it, I lose the time and date. So it must be using a capacitor because capacitors don't hold as long as an internal battery, but they last longer over the life of the camera. Like an internal battery might only last 10 years, but a capacitor could probably last 20 years, maybe 30, depending on conditions. So it's kind of a trade-off, right? Longevity versus long-term longevity versus short-term longevity. If that makes any sense. I used to take everything. Yeah, I know. I used to do that. I used to just bring everything. Now I'm very particular. I might take two or three cameras, but each camera is going to only be one or two lenses. Like Today I had to take 2 cameras. I took my own 3. That was my primary shooter, but I'm testing out a lens that they sent me for my Sony camera. So I took a few shots with the Sony today too, with this new lens. Right, so I travel by car, but now I take just what I need, yeah. And when using manual focus, I can see zoomed in image on the EVF. Is there a way to capture that zoomed image? No. I mean, you can crop in post-processing, but yeah, short answer is no, there's no way to capture that. Yes, but the internal clock is in the firmware and it's stored on the ROM and it's updatable. I have no idea what you mean by that. Internal clock is in the firmware. So firmware is the software, so it's not in the firmware as much as it is. I mean, it's part of the programming. So you're talking about the initial I think you're talking about the initial date that's in the clock, right? So when you turn the camera on, it's gonna have a default date like 1984 or 2002, whatever whenever the camera was released, typically is the date that's right? So if it was released in 2022, you're gonna see a default date of January 1st, 2022. That's in the EPROM. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's not what you mean. Please elaborate. I'm curious. I'm always here to learn as well, right? And the Great Van says, years ago, I chipped a tooth trying to snipe him, and I still lost. Wow, that's too bad. And it was a blessing that I lost the bid. My budget is much happier. I have to get by with my EM1 Nexus. Yeah, sometimes it's okay. I'm never upset when I lose a bid. I'm like, I don't really need that. Got a lot of cameras already. Old M43. I love Holland and always amazed how normal cycling is in Holland. That's Siegfried. Okay, Siegfried, thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it. Okay. Again, I encourage everyone to visit his blog. Lauren says, just take it in to a good shop and they can replace the battery for around $400. You can ask them, but they should be using a keep alive device to change the battery. No worries. Ah, you're talking about my car. Yeah, interesting. Okay. $400 though. I can buy a battery for about $100, maybe 150 if I get a decent one, and do it myself and then see what happens. I doubt I'll mess up the computer, but maybe I should just take it in and see how much. I'm not gonna worry about it now. My car still starts. I just noticed because my car's been sitting for about 3 or 4 days and the battery it cranked over a little bit slow. But then when I got to the Tulip farm and then I got home and went to have breakfast, all these different places, I got gas. The car was starting up just fine. But the battery does, if it sets, it drains really fast. Like it loses its power. And Darko says when I do street, I take the Z6 with the 40, the 28, and the 24 to 70 F4. Really works all around and light with a lower bag. Yep, that's a nice set. 40, 28, very good set. I mean, the 24 to 70 really kind of mitigates the need to carry those primes, though, right? If it were me, I'd probably just take the 24 to 70 or the 2 primes. I wouldn't take all 3 if it were me. And Marcia says, in South Florida, you're lucky if you get 3 years of car battery life. Really? Why is 3 years? Why? Because of the heat? That's interesting. Why would your battery not last long in Florida? Brave I need soon because my feet and legs are not as nimble these days. Yep. Also, other reasons to use a Zoom, right? Like when we go out, I know David doesn't like to bend down too much, right? It's hard to get back up. Getting like that for me too. Oh, man, getting old sucks, man. It just sucks so bad. I'll tell you this, not to get all morbid and everything, but I measure my life. I probably said this already, but I measure my life in dog years because Ellie's got about 5 or 6 left, right? On average. After that, I'll be like in my 60s. Then I got one more dog left to get in my life because you need to outlive your dogs. You need to be able to take care of your animals for their lifespan. And I'm pretty safe bet that if I get one more dog in my early 60s, I'll probably outlive the dog, right? God willing. I'll outlive the dog and I can take care of them through their lifespan. So my life is one more dog. That's it. I got one dog life left and my life is centered around my dog. I love my dog. I love dogs in general. It's ironic because when I was growing up as a kid, I could care less about dogs. We had dogs in my family growing up, never paid any attention to didn't walk them. It didn't care at all. It's weird. And then as an adult, when I got my dog, my first dogs, Paulina was my first dog. I just love them. Much to my demise, I'm still allergic. I'm always on tour, at least one allergen medicine, but usually two, sometimes three if I'm going someplace uh, where there's a lot of animals. Like my sister's house, she has like 5 dogs and cats. So I have to take all three of my allergy meds. My eyes, my nose, and then a Claritin on top of that. And yes, I can reset time and date from the wrench menu. You have to change the battery, but if it's not too difficult and it's app, I might be able to change it. Okay. Well, if you have any soldering skills at all, maybe you can get that Pentax Q from I forget who it was and fix it. Buy it cheap, fix it, and use it. It's something I was never good at soldering. I always had big globs of mess, and then I would use the flux, and it would just run all over the place. I always wanted to be like an electrical engineer when I was younger, like junior high, high school. And yeah, I'm going to be an electrical engineer. And there was so much math. Oh, maybe not. When I go out for macro, I bring my 60 millimeter f2.8 and my 70 to 200 f4 VR with PC and can shoot ground birds while I'm shooting macro easily with my Nikon. Yep. 62.8. I have the D version, right? Uh, actually, right here. Nikon 60 millimeter f2.8, one of the very few lenses I kept from my Nikon days. This is a fabulous 60 millimeter f2.8 macro. Right now, I have the micro four thirds adapter on that. I was testing. I was testing how good this is on micro four thirds. It's pretty good. Um, this is the old F mount. I use this on the DF some. It's one of probably the most versatile lens you can have for your Nikon. It's a little bit tight. Oh, excuse me. I've been up since 3 a.m. A little bit tight at 60 millimeters for like street and stuff, but you can make it work. And by tight, I mean images can be compressed. I prefer wider shots, but I like being wide and tight at the same time. I'm using a wide angle lens, but I like to get up close, like you saw with the tulips today. I don't like wide shots so much. Uh, the occasional fisheye is kind of fun to do sometimes. I like tight shots, so even when I do panoramas, I like to use like a normal 50 or like a normal 50 millimeter lens and stitch them together. I don't like that. I like the compression, the more natural field of view that you get with a standard lens and combining that to create a pano rather than getting a super wide angle. I mean, fisheyes are fun. Uh, so if I take a fisheye out, it's for specifically because I want that effect. But like this is why the 17, I don't use it very much because it's wide and I don't know, 17 is not bad though. I don't know. Every lens has a purpose. Every lens has a purpose. I shouldn't knock any lens or focal length. They're all good. Right, so all my Nikon stuff is bye-bye. Only Olympus fanboy now. Oh, really? Wow, you got rid of all your Nikon stuff. 'Cause you had a D500, I thought, right? And you had the D750 for a while. Wow, that's surprising. The 757 for the Z50 is a great price. The Z5 for 996 was a steal. Yeah. And the Z40 f2 is great lens on the low price for street. I own the Z5 plus a 40 and a 50, which is all a great deal. Yes. Z5 is mildly tempting because it's really a nice successor to the Nikon D750 I used to. But I don't know. I don't really need it. I have my Nikon DF and a few of my Nikon lenses left, 35, a 50, the 60 macro, and then some older ones like the 135, the 105. These are manual focus. The 105 2.5, very popular. 135 3.5, and I have the 200 f4. Rarely use those. The 105 some. I like the 35 and the 50 the most. EF. But actually, I got a zoom lens for it now, the 28 to 85 VR. That's an awesome lens. Have I used drone for photography? No, I have not. I live in a no-fly zone for like 50 square miles. So there's one or two pockets that they do allow drones in my area. There's one park that I know of, but no, I've had a drone for like 5 or 6 years now. I took it out a few times in my house, never took it outside. Flew it around in my house a couple of times and have never touched it since. I think about it sometimes though. If I drive up to my sister's house, she's about 80 miles out. I can fly the drone around there, but not because I live right next to the Air Force Base, like a mile from my house. And then there's three international airports you know, within an hour's drive of my house. One is like 20 minutes away is Reagan National, and then Dulles Airport's about 45, maybe, yeah, about 45, 50 minutes away. And then BWI is maybe 30 minutes. So anyhow, I can't go in any direction anywhere I live, not be near the airport. And that's why I just never have an opportunity to fly it. And yes, the EEPROM is the program IC where the firmware is stored, and EEPROM need a tiny stand-up power to keep the clock running. Okay, got it. Photo sniper, which I have. I don't know what a photo sniper. Mounted on a wall like a rifle. Being old isn't the weak. You can say that again. I saw a quote by, I can't remember his name, but he's like 90 something years old right now. And he said, "When I was young, I worked out to look good. Uh, when I got older, like in my 40s and 50s, I worked out to be healthy and fit, right? And now he's in his 90s, and now he works out just because he can." And Andrew says, "I wish I can afford a dog." Oh, I'm sorry. Dogs, I don't know what dogs cost over there to have, but, mine was a rescue, so it only cost me $350 to get her. I have to pay the rescue. And then I spend about maybe 1,000 a year when they're healthy, because you gotta get shots and checkups and stuff. It's about and food, medicine, like 1,000 a year to keep Ellie around. Totally worth. I canceled my Netflix yesterday, trying to save a few bucks, because after I pay my taxes and paid for all these trees, I'm like, "All right, something's gotta give." So, yeah, I only have about a week or 2 left on my Netflix before it totally expires, and, I got one other thing I think I need to cancel. I have, a membership, photography membership. It's a great reason. Ugh. Anyway, hey, things are tough all over, right? Okay, Mark says, "I thought I had 5 years with Charlie, cherish every day with him." Yeah. "Rob, you will be uploaded to the robotic unit with arms." Funny. Um, let's see. Tim has said, "I wanna buy the OM3 just so I can buy that half case, love the look of it." Yeah, nice, huh? I'm pretty happy with. And that's it, Tim. I don't know what that means, but okay. Good to see you, Peter. And Marsh says, "That Rob trick, batteries, tires go quickly down here." Yes, he plays a major role. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, heat is really, I know of with electronics in general, heat is the biggest evil and enemy to electronics. I guess batteries would fall into that category. Tires, I can see. Yeah, tires, I can go about 60,000 miles comfortably. Um, I was at about 66,000 miles on my last set of tires, and I would have probably gone another 10,000 were it not for I hit a pothole and popped one of the tires, so I just replaced all 4 of them. So I got a little over 30,000 miles on my current set, and they still look brand new, to me anyway. But I always buy the best tires I can afford. I bought some Michelin Premises, I think are one of the best tires out there. Right alongside, I just made a video explaining my in-car videos are coming to an end due to the degenerative disc disease. Ooh, really? Ooh, that sucks. Man, I hope you're not in too much pain, man. Awful. They gotta be able to do something though, right? Some kind of surgery and they can put another disc in. But if it's all your discs, yeah, that would be a problem. Ooh, sorry to hear that, man. But I need more Nikon lenses. Sorry, I got distracted. I need more Nikon lenses, evidence this live stream is dangerous. Yeah, well, I can tell you, if I had to pick f-mount lens, the 60 2.8 macro, the 105 f2.5 AI lens, and the I'm kind of split between the 35 f2D, the autofocus, or the 50 millimeter f1.4. Any variety of the 35 and the 50, whether it's manual focus or autofocus, any variety of those. Not so much because of the focal length. The focal lengths are, fine, but it's really those are glass. For the money, you can beat it. Uh, I mean, I can buy a 50 millimeter 1.8 for like 80 bucks. You can get the 1.4 for about 150 last time I checked. 150 bucks for a 50 1.4, the G version autofocus, right? But I think the 28 to 85 VR, man, that's a good. If I had to choose one lens, it'd be that one, and I would give up all my primes for that. It'd be hard, but I would do it if I had to. I still want the Laowa 9 millimeter. I had the 8 millimeter 2.8 for Fuji, Samyang branded, but traded it off for Nikon gear. Okay, not that familiar with the Laowa 9 millimeter. And D4S too, but Nikon stuff just too heavy, especially for big. Oh, that's right. You had a D4. Man, that's brutal. But it is heavy stuff, right? That D4S. Man. And Darko says the Z5 Mark II is what you want, not the Z5 original. Although I agree that the original Z5 was great street shooter. Maybe. Just I barely want the Z5. The Z5 II doesn't really add that I want. I mean, all the fancy autofocus now I have in these cameras, they're fine, but I don't really need them. I'm fine with just focus and recompose. If I was doing like more modeling shoots where I have to track things, uh, the OM1 does that just fine. My OM3 does a really good job with that new human detecting. Um, but if we're talking about something not OM system or Olympus, I'm not concerned about the autofocusing because I'm not going to use the camera for anything really important. I mean, they're nice to have, but it's not that important to me. So a Nikon camera, I'd be fine with the original Z6. I've been shopping the Z7 and the Z7 Mark II. I've been thinking about those cameras, but I'm holding off now. I'd rather have I'd rather have a S1R, the Mark One, or the Mark II. Mark II would be nice because it's smaller and it has all the autofocus that I need. But the Mark One would be fine too. Even though the autofocus is not as good, it's not as fast. The slow camera, it's really sluggish. It's tank. But I liked it. Really liked that camera. Had some really interesting, unique, something very unique. Look up the Zenit Photo Snipe. Okay. Wow, 200 bucks? What is it? Soviet Photo Snipe. Oh, that's interesting. And if I live not far from the White House. If I got this lens, I'd probably be a shot. But that's pretty cool. I've never seen that before. I gotta look more into this. I'm gonna save that. That's interesting. Huh. And oh, Contrail is here. Good to see you, Contrail. And Eric says, notice my K1000, it's hard to determine critical focus. Is that a lens or viewfinder thing? Nature of film. I do understand a film photo isn't made to be pixel peep. Just curious. Uh, Most likely it's the viewfinder, right? Um, I mean, I'm not familiar with the K1000. if it has a splits, a split uh, focus prism, that should be pretty accurate. If it's not, then there's something off. Some alignment is off. Your prism is out of alignment or something. But I've never had a problem. I've had a problem with my rangefinder being a little out of alignment, and that was easy to calibrate. But I don't know about a K1000, but I would suspect it's more in the viewfinder, some either a calibration issue or um, if you got one of those, I forget all the terminology for film, but they have like the split type focusing where you try and line up the lines, and then they have the other type where it's kind of a mesh and soft, and you have to kind of make it look less pixelated. It's like, ironically, that's the term I would have to say. That's what my Minolta has. It has one of those not split type focusing. That's sort of this pixelated type contrast prism. So maybe change. I don't know if you can change them in the K1000, but sometimes you can change them. And I think the split one is probably the easiest to use. So YouTube only for me now. Yeah, so no Netflix, nothing. Yeah, that's gonna be painful. I used to watch first what I did first was 'cause I knew this was coming, right? Tax season and freeze. So I didn't watch Netflix for about 2 weeks. I just never turned it on to see how I felt. And then I looked at it yesterday to see if there's anything there that I wanted to watch. And of course I wanted to watch everything, but I was like, if I didn't have access to this, will I be okay? I'll save like, what is it, 200 and some dollars a year not having it. They have the other plan, it's like $8 a month or $7 a month where you have to watch ads. I'm thinking about doing that. That'll save me 100 and some dollars, about $120 a year, like $10, 10 or $12 cheaper to get it if you want to watch it with ads. But I don't know if I should just go cold turkey on Netflix. I can always, sign up again later. Because, Karate Kid is done. That was a great series. Um, but I like rewatching other stuff like, Breaking Bad and Lucifer and uh, Alchemy of Souls. There was a lot of series that I like to watch. So Lucifer, I bought the season box set, DVD set. So I'm good there. I was trying to find the box sets for like Space Force. I really like Space Force, but they don't sell that separately. And I wouldn't mind buying like Alchemy of Souls and if I can find. I haven't looked for it. I got to start looking for, you know, hard copies of all these that I like to watch on Netflix because I'm pretty sure I have. Yeah. Then then I'll be okay. I'll be okay. And if something new comes on Netflix that I want to watch and I'm not subscribed, it's okay. I won't miss it because I won't know it existed. Painkillers and back brace, and wow. And I'm sorry, Rand. And you got that beautiful Marauder, right? Oh, a friend just got a rescue dog and it cost 750 pounds. So many vets in the UK are now owned by conglomerates and have a virtual monopoly and are profit. Ooh, 750 is a lot to get to pay for a rescue. Because that's like $1,000 in US, right? That would be prohibitive. 350 was a lot, but 750. We have a lot of shelters here, like run by the state, that I could get a dog for a lot less than a rescue. But and I went to a few of the shelters when I was getting another dog, and it just breaks my heart. But, somehow I chose Ellie because I was looking at rescue, looking at shelters, and out of all the hundreds of dogs that I looked at, Ellie kinda stood out to me. Even though she was the worst one in terms of meet and greet, she was barking at me like a burglar, right? Like, it was hard, but I don't know, something just drew me to her. And Ken Cox, good to see you. Hope all is well with you. I'm a bit late. Oh, no worries. Good to see you, Ken. Thanks for coming in. And oh, Robert's here. See that used camera gear prices are going up here in the US. Is it else noticed that or am I being paranoid? I don't know. I've only been following really the S1R, and that's come down in the past month. Where like a month ago, it seemed like they were selling for 15, 1600 all day long. I'm seeing them between 12 and 13 now. So not that the S1R should be a benchmark, not many people want that camera, but, because it went from, like, 1,100. I was able to get it for 11, 1,200 all day long last year, and then it went up to 1,500. I was like, "Screw that," and now it's back down to, like, 12 and 13, like, "Oh, maybe. If I can get it back down to 11, that would be good." Used camera prices in general are ridiculous. There's no reason to pay that much for a frickin' five-year-old camera. Did you see Emily's review of the Sigma VF? She roughed it up. No, I haven't seen. Emily is great though. I didn't watch it. I'm not that interested in that camera. It's a nice camera, so I didn't want to waste, 10 or 15 minutes on that video. But I mean I watched the initial review by Petapixel, Chris and Gordon, and then watch anything else. It just it's a nice camera, nice looking camera. But I don't know, it just didn't interest me at all. Maybe one day I'll get it because it is kinda different, but my perspective has changed a lot this month because of the fricking cutting the trees down, just man, that was brutal. Oh, it's these unplanned expenses that you run into in life that kinda give you a reality check sometimes, right? And David Crooks says, "Don't forget to hit the like button." "No, thank you." I was thinking of a D810 for a higher megapixel DSLR. A little bulky, but it's a nice really nice. Um, I mean, I was thinking about a D810 too. I already have lenses, right? I get a D810, a little bit nostalgic for me because it was kind of my dream camera when I was shooting Nikon with but I ended up with the D750 because it was smaller and lighter. And the D810 at the time was more expensive anyway. So I ended up with a D750. But D810s can be had for next to nothing these days, right? Like 5, 600 bucks. I mean, not that much. Oh, let me take a look. Yeah, 500. But it's a massive camera and it's heavy, but it's nice. But it's getting a little long in the tooth, right? I don't know. For 500 bucks though, I might want to. Ooh, that one looks. And they have like a 400,000 shutter count, lifespan. It'll last forever. Oh, 361,000. Yeah, don't get this one. How about that one? 125,000. Okay, that's not bad. 574. Generic battery. Of course, this day and age. What else is in here? $346, parts only. 660. How about one from Japan? Usually get a better price. The Japanese, man, when you buy from Japan, their cameras are always like mint or excellent condition. Do they tell the shutter count? That's the only thing about some of these Japanese people. They don't tell you the shutter count. This is pretty tempting though. This looks to be really in good shape. When I look at used cameras, I always look at the hot shoe. I'm sorry, the plate here, the tripod screw. I like to see if there's any nicks and bumps all the way along the side and in the middle here. So that tells me if it was used a lot, right? The wear and tear on the bottom, because that's where you pick up and rest the camera, set it down all the time, right? And then I look at the hot shoe. Oh, I look at the hot shoe to see how worn out that is. That'll tell me who used the camera. So a lot of professionals use flash. This hot shoe is going to be worn out. A lot of consumers don't use flash. So this was probably used by a consumer that didn't use a tripod or flash. This is a pretty nice example. And it's got the original battery and charger. This looks really good. I don't know. If you don't mind the bulk, it's a great camera, definitely. So, Arco, yeah. I mean, if the size and weight is not a problem, not that much money, right? You can sell it and get your money back, more or less. I don't think that camera's gonna go much below $500 for another 10 years, probably. I mean, it's such a good camera. The 36 megapixel, the sensor in that is awesome, and it's a very capable camera, otherwise, right? Lots of features. You know, it's their prosumer camera. It's not a D4, right? But it's very good camera. Wow, I saw one, a Russian spy on it. Wow. I picked it up, man. Those are kinda cool. The Photo Sniper is cool. I have the same bushcraft camera gun stock device hand. I got it used at a junk bin at my local camera store, which works great. Wow, 20 bucks. Man, I wish I could find like deals like that. It's hard, man. And Paul says, "Hello, Rob. I don't understand the discussion in Robin Wong's chat about the lack of development in home system cameras. What is wrong about just loving the cameras just as they are? 90% of amateurs." Yeah, I didn't watch that live stream. Uh, I've been devoting all my spare time to doing my taxes and dealing with my trees and roof and gutters and all of that. Today's the first day I've really gotten out in a while. In fact, I got to do a model shoot tonight, so I need to get going. Exhausted though, man. Pissing around since 3 a.m. But uh, lack of development. I don't know. I'm very content with the cameras as they are. If they could make any improvements, it would be maybe in the autofocus tracking. I'm not quite there yet. Like compared to my Sony or Canon, it's like those things are pretty sticky. The Olympus camera is not quite as sticky if you wanna track things, so I don't have the same confidence when I wanna track something that's not a human or dog or bird, right? Those when you pick a particular subject, the tracking's excellent, but if you just pick some random object, uh, like a soda can, and then start moving the camera on, it can easily lose tracking. So it'd be nice to see more development in the autofocusing engine, and I don't know, that's about it. I mean, it'd be nice if they had the bandwidth to develop multiple cameras, different styles, but we're not there anymore. That's not gonna happen. I mean, if they were a much bigger company and cameras were selling well in general overall as a market, they probably would have came out with the OM3 and Pen F Mark II at the same time, because 'cause they're basically the same camera, right? In terms of technology. All they'd have to do is build the body to go around it, and I don't wanna minimize that big task to, refit a camera to the electronics. There's miniaturization that you have to do, blah, blah, blah. Retooling at the factory, if there's anything particularly different about it, say, from the other cameras that they're manufacturing, so there's a lot that goes into it, and they just don't have the bandwidth, to do it, and mainly because there just isn't a market uh, for them to recoup their costs quickly, which they have to do. So they do this one I mean, the OM3 was a nice surprise, I think, right? That they came out with that camera. So, 'cause nobody saw that coming. Uh, that's a nice camera. Yeah, I'm as happy as a bee with all of Ohm's cameras, but I understand they don't have the bandwidth to really be ahead of the game, so to speak, right? They've done a lot of things that have kept them ahead and very competitive, but to be ahead of the game, like Sony's got a global shutter, you know what I mean? Of course, they manufacture sensors to begin with. This doesn't, our own system does not. I don't know if they'll ever be ahead of the game anymore or be able to offer a variety of cameras every year. But the cameras they do come out with, like most recently the OM3, I'm very happy with. I just, I mean, people will argue that, why not make this camera like without all the bells and whistles to bring the price down? Like maybe put the EM5 or OM5 guts in here instead of the OM1 Mark II gut, right? Because this is basically an OM1 Mark II, just trimmed a little bit. Whereas the OM5, is a totally different camera. Uh, and that would have brought the price down to closer to what the OM5 sells for, right? 1,500 or less. But for me, I think I'd rather have a camera that's capable so that when it's released, like, and capable and well built, like this is a better fit for the kind of camera I would want to buy. I mean, I feel about it either way, right? And be praising it like to no end. But all said and done, very happy with what they've done with the OM3, making it a top tier camera in terms of feature set. Everything OM Systems knows how to do is in this camera. And then some of the different add-ons like actually being able to save movie presets, which I need to get used to. I'm doing that. Separating the movie photo switch over here is nice. There's little things I would have improved on, in my opinion, with this camera. Like the creative dial's down here. I get it, right? Why not just put it up here? Instead of having only 3 things on this dial, right? You could have put all the creative stuff up here and use this space for something else, like put a couple of buttons here. I wish it just had a couple more buttons. That's all. Just a couple more. But that's the OM system's philosophy or design language. They design things their way, almost to a fault, right? And it's hard to get them out of that design language or idea that they have for a camera. Once they come up with that idea, because certainly it was possible to put a joystick, to put more buttons, put buttons here on the front, put the creative dial up here. They could have done a lot of things that would have made the camera, I think, even more functional, right, as a tool. But it's missing like a jack or port for an external intervalometer, a programmable intervalometer. It's missing a PC sync port. Um, a couple of things that would have made this a much more serious camera they could have done. But the fact that it has a lot of stuff already, it has like 90% of everything you could possibly want, makes this a serious camera overall and a beautiful design, right? So, yeah, I'm really happy with this camera and everything they've done with it. And I don't know what else they could have done. If they need to do anything, they need to spend a little more time making the autofocus more competitive. Uh, but it's already pretty close. I mean, the subject test certainly human, animal, birds, that kind of stuff. This camera's great at. I put it right up there with any other camera system. But the tracking, Robin would probably argue the low light focusing ability. Yeah, try using a Sony in low light, but I won't go there. Uh, the OM Systems is better in low light than Sony even, but I haven't tested it in a scientific way. Just my gut feeling is Sony misses focus a lot in low light, whereas my OM Systems will lock on. But I agree with you. Whatever is available on the market and it's at a price point, has all the features that you want, and to go even further in an aesthetic and style and design that you like, then what's the problem, right? I think, I mean, I didn't watch the stream, but Robin's concern and maybe others that were in the chat with, and maybe some of you here might be concerned about the future of ARM systems and its viability to be able to stay competitive and stay alive, right? Uh, I don't think we're going to have any problems in that sense. I think they'll be here for a while. I'm not worried about them going out of business or struggling. But it's my opinion. I'm not an accountant or any, I'm not one of their accountants, financial advisors, whatever. I don't work for the company, so I have no idea. But all I can do is tell people and show people my enthusiasm for the system as a whole, Micro Four Thirds, for the company, OM Systems, and the cameras that they create. The OM1 Mark II, the OM3, the OM5, these are all fabulous cameras. The lenses that they produce, excellent quality, you know, and the overall format, like I said, for Micro Four Thirds being smaller, lighter, more compact overall, and the advantages that you get with a smaller sensor in terms of depth of field, which for my type of photography is best, architectural and I don't care for shallow depth of field as much. I really like a very deep depth of field, and Micro Four Thirds allows me to do that much. Like studio work, you rarely need to shoot wide open. You're usually shooting f5.6, f8. So, Micro Four Thirds makes all of that easier. So it's really the best system for me for everything that I do and want to do. Now, I mentioned that I have a portrait thing that I'm doing tonight, and I'll share those pictures maybe on Tuesday when I do a stream. But uh, I'm gonna be shooting at like f5.6, f8 with that model, more than likely, more than likely, 'cause I'm gonna be using flash, and I'm gonna blend the ambient light together with flash. If I can get away with using flash, I'm still not sure I can do sort of a sight unseen. I've never met this person. I've been to the location that we're going to. I'm sort of a backup, not a backup. I'm sort of the just support. I'm trying to teach this other photographer how to do flash photography, basically. So I'm going there to help her more than shooting the model, right? So if I do get a few shots in, and they're just going to be kind of, rando shots, maybe not necessarily how I would shoot the scene, because the setting and everything that she wants to shoot in is not a setting I would choose. Outdoors with trees and flowers, and I, I like a much more controlled, more, not my shoot. Is what I'm saying. It's her creative vision for this particular model, and I'm just there to support with help her with the flash photography. She really wants to learn flash photography. She's supposedly a not supposedly, but she's an award-winning photographer. So I'm flattered she would ask me for help for that. But uh, I'm going to help her with flash. I forget why I got onto this topic. Oh, because I have to get going soon. Anyhow, yeah. So Paul, I would venture 99.9% of amateurs are going to be good with an EM10 Mark II or Mark III or Mark IV. Any of the OM system cameras, a Pen PL8, the Pen EPL7, every camera that OM Systems Olympus makes, more than capable for 99% of amateurs. Uh, I would stick with the OMD series. That's the most capable, most flexible, most programmable. Uh, over say the Pen series, but any OMD camera, any OM camera, really, 99% of amateurs. I would even argue a large percentage of professionals, including myself, can use an OM system camera and get excellent results. You're not going to get, what I'm saying is, even if I shot with my Sony A7R5, right, for the jobs that I get paid for, I'm not going to get paid more just because I use an A7R5. I'm going to get the same pay, right? So why buy an A7R5 if you're thinking about getting into photography or professional and you want to keep your business costs down? You can buy just about any camera on the market, like between $1,000 and $2,000, and they'll do everything that you need to do. I could do my job today with the EM10 Mark II. I could. I really could. Uh, there's nothing that that camera can't do that I could not get paid for the kind of jobs that I. Just the newer cameras just make some things a lot easier, right? Like the eye autofocus, and I really love the bird detect, and I use that a lot. Then the in-camera, all of the computational features they came out with didn't work out today too well though because it was so windy. Computational features, if it's windy out, yeah, you're gonna have some problems. But yeah, the camera, it's not the camera. I mean, we say this all the time. You've heard this a million times. It's not the camera. It's the person behind the camera, right? That's been said for, I don't know, since I think Ansel Adams said that. I forget who said it. And how old is that quote, right? It's not the camera, it's the person's, 6 feet or 6 inches behind the camera that matters. That's true then as it is now. It just doesn't matter. I get it. I get it. Some pro photographers like Sports Action, uh, maybe even like that guy over at Tin House Studios. I forget his name, but they have certain needs. But he'll tell you, you can buy. If he did a video. I watch a lot of his stuff. He's great. Uh, he did a video about, like, some gear, or he was showing gear starting at, like, 600 that you could do international campaigns with. I think he was talking about a Canon 5D Mark II or Mark III. He said, "Yeah, you could do international campaigns with this camera. You don't need to buy the latest, whatever. You don't need these cameras to do the kind of work that he does in advertising and products and whatever it is he does." I still don't know exactly what, but uh, yeah, it's never the camera, and I think that's part of. Well, let's not. Let me just stop there. Getting long. Yeah, I'm with you, Paul. I understand the discussion though, that they were having. I get it. I think it's more about the future of home systems in a very competitive market than it was about the cameras themselves, because I think the cameras themselves are great. And my Roku gives me more than I need. No Netflix, Hulu. Yeah, I know. There's so much stuff on Pluto. I watch Pluto, another one called gosh, I'm gonna probably start watching them more now that I'm getting rid of Netflix. But there was another channel, Midnight something, and Tubi. Tubi's pretty good. I watched a lot of those for a while. And there's so much stuff. Yeah, it's a few ads, but it's okay. There's no subscription fee. Oh, and there you have it, Pluto TV. Free all the old shows you want. Yes, I watched, I don't know if it's on Tubi or Pluto, but they got, like, individual channels that play live, like the old days when you used to have to change a channel to watch something, and it has to be on at a certain time, but they have, like, an '80s channel, a sci-fi channel, Three's Company channel. I love Three's Company. Three's Company channel, it's great. Doctor Who channel, I love that classic Doctor Who. And Andrew says, "I haven't ever been tempted to subscribe to any TV service. I barely watch TV." That's awesome. I totally respect that, man. I don't know, I'd probably be a lot further ahead in my life if I didn't watch so much TV. Besides a good show online is the Rob Trick Lives. Oh, thanks. Check your email, Rob, in a couple of minutes. Okay. Well, it's been a few. 7,500 vids on your. Wow. That's a lot, man. Let's see. Let's see what Marco wants me. Holy crap, Marco. Thank you. I'm so flattered by your generosity. Man, I'm gonna tear up here. That is awesome. Man, Marco, you're so nice. Thank you so much. Ah, well, we can watch um I can rewatch some Karate Kid. I was only up to season 2 when I was rewatching it. I can now go back and watch it. I love Karate Kid, the series they have. Ah, man, you rock, man. Thank you so much. Marco just got me a gift card for Netflix. That's gonna cover me probably for a while. I really appreciate that. Oh, Marco's always been so generous to my channel, and well, to me, I should say. My channel is me. Me, I'm the channel, right? Um, as many of you are. Many of you are members for 99 cents. Many of you sent donations and coffees, and I really appreciate it. It does help me out quite a bit because this is all I got. I got this, and I got a few jobs, one job every couple of months these days. Uh, but I like to spend most of my time trying to help people with their photography, and your donations, your support, and all of that allows me to do that. So uh, for now, I can keep doing this with all of your support. If it wasn't for that, seriously, I'd probably have to get a day job, which some of my friends would argue I should do. But I feel like my purpose in life, the reason I'm here on this earth, if you guys believe in that, is to help other people. I think that's why we're all here, is to help each other. And the best way I can do that is through photography. Uh, you know, so you guys are awesome. I appreciate it. And Eric says, I just keep my YouTube Premium and year subscription to Helicon. I'm letting Adobe run out. I'll change the DxO, then I'll miss some of the presets, but Adobe is like you say, death by a thousand cuts. Yeah. I wish I could get rid of Adobe. I'm gonna have to, I wish I could, but I buy it annually for 120 bucks a year and it's worth it for the workflow that I get when I do get my paid jobs. I mean, I still pre-process DxO so that my final result is the best it can be because Adobe is still not as good as DxO in my opinion. But for the layering and other workflows that I need to do when I'm working with multiple images, DxO is a one image at a time kind of deal. You can't layer other images on top of each other. So I don't have any choice. And I do a lot of that in work, paid work. And Andrew says pedigree pups over here are rarely under 2K, often 3K. Wow. Well, in this area, because it's Washington, D.C., so there's a lot of high profile people here, in addition to a very high income level. There's a lot of purebred puppies in the shelters here. It's really sad to see. I mean, you won't get any papers or anything, but when you see the dog, you know that's a purebred. And Paul Beal says a comment in the chat from Robin: a supercar is not changed very much over the years. They are still great cars, just as Olympus Home System cameras. Yep. And my compared to the OM1, my EM1X takes awesome bird photos. Just have to work harder, just a little bit. The problem with the EM1X is the tracking and the continuous autofocus subject detect are tied together. So you have to do tracking plus subject detect. On the OM1, it's separate. You can use them together, but you can use them separately, and it works better separately than tied together. That's the only problem with the. And just for fun, VR says, hello, got the Godox V1, works fine, but the head strongly smells of plastic. Hope it will be gone in some days. Because this is strange. That is strange. As long as it's not a burning plastic smell. But if it's a regular kind of plastic smell, it should go away. I never noticed it, but my sense of smell is not that great. But try to see if the smell is worse after the flash fires a few times. Do a few full power pops, the flash, and give it a whiff, and then wait. Well, not too much, right? You don't want to get sick, but uh, feel the flash head if it feels hot or if you sense anything wrong. You might need to return it and exchange it if you just got it. Chucker says, I about to develop some 4x5 sheet film. Last time I did this was in the early 60s in high school. Needs to see how my old Crown graphic skill works. Wow. Yeah, the 4x5. Those are nice. Those really make nice prints. I mean, I thought my Hasselblad made nice prints, but I saw some 4x5s and before I can sell the Murata, it needs oil leak fixed, so no new stuff. She's like a wife takes really. Uh oh. Um there's a there's an additive that's really good. You can try. I mean, if it's just a kind of a seal, then maybe you can get away with this one additive. What it's called. I put it in when I do every oil change. I can't remember what it's called. I just did an oil change. Look at my orders. Oh, I didn't. Could be it. Previous. You probably already know this, but this is really good. AT205 reseal. This is good, good stuff. Okay, I can highly recommend. My Mazda had a slight oil leak. I mean, I couldn't find the leak. I would just see a little bit of oil in the bottom underneath the plastic cover. That's gone now. Also, you can use it like in your power steering. My Jeep power steering fluid would always go down very slowly, right? After every couple of tanks of gas, I would have to add a little bit of power steering fluid to my reservoir. I put some of that in there. Perfect now. No problems. And it's compatible with power steering, compatible with motor oil. It's worked for me really well. So try that. Roman asks, Raptor, are you going to do a test EP1 versus OM3? I don't have an EP1. I wouldn't be able to do EP1 versus OM3. Either sell it or be buried. Oh, just be buried in it, man. They say you can't take it with you, but that's the next best thing. Be buried with it. Like the King Tut, the old Egyptian kings and queens, right? They would all get buried with all their stuff. Or if you have any nephews or nieces, even, maybe they would enjoy it. Like uh like in Gran Torino, right? Give it to some kid. Put it in your will. Okay. And Andrew says the BF seems very similar specs to the Milan Panasonic S9. I don't understand why anyone would want the BF. It's like the OM3. It's all about the aesthetics of the camera. You know, for the money, the OM1 Mark II, I would argue even the OM1 Mark I is the better camera than an OM3. So I think it's mainly about the aesthetics. That's the only reason anyone would want it. I wouldn't want personally new at that price. But if it goes to like half that price, maybe, on a used market, if I can get one for half, I would get it just for the aesthetics because it is an interesting camera. And the L mount, the glass that's available for the L mount is outstanding. So I'm not going to be wanting for any lenses. They're going to be, they have great lens. So I think it would just be an interesting camera to have, like the Pixie, whatever that M mount camera. I'd like to get one of those one day, even though the reviews are kind of nightmarish. I'd like to get one of those one day. It's just something unique, just the aesthetics and the of it. Being more of a collector now than anything of cameras. At least that's the way I like to think of myself. I'm a collector now. Says, don't laugh, but most of my shots lately have been done with the EPM2 and Lumix 12 to 32 because I can carry it in my shirt pocket, so it's always there. Yeah, why not? Robin says, changing the focusing screen is pretty involved on the K1000. If you have an all-in-one film camera, screens, the split prism screen makes focusing a bit easy. Yes, split prism, that's what it's called. Thank you. But yeah, I prefer that over the one in my Minolta, which is sort of that grainy, pixely type. And I see Randy. Thank you so much, Randy. I really appreciate it. Randy's been a long time viewer, supporter of the channel. Very grateful. All you've done for me in the past and for today. Thank you so much. Let's see. What about tolls and On imports. Oh, you mean the new tariffs? Haven't seen anything yet. Haven't seen anything yet. Things are still priced kinda normal. Um, but it is what it is, you know? I heard that sometime, like, in May, that you might start to get things in like, if I order something from China, like, maybe I order, I don't know, some accessory or whatever, that, I might have to pay something to get my merchandise. I don't know how that works exactly, but China's gonna send it to me, and then when it gets here, I can't get it unless I pay whatever tariff or whatever on it. And that, you know, that could be a problem, right? So, we'll see. Nothing's happened yet. I'm not gonna worry about it until I have to worry about it. There's gonna be definitely a transition if all these tariffs stick and things start happening, because you gotta figure a lot of the China because China's the most impacted right now. They're gonna have to cut their prices even more. Their margins are gonna have to thin a little bit, even have somebody interested in their product at the prices that they're gonna cost to get it. So for example, if I wanna buy a lens, 7 Artisan, TT Artisan's lens, and, the current price is, say, $200, but now with the tariffs, it goes to $400, right? Whatever that tariff is gonna be. They might have to lower their price by $50. Okay, you were gonna pay $200, but now it's gonna be 350. So it might not be quite double the cost, and then I can balance if it's worth getting it at that price. I don't know. We'll see. It's not an issue today. I don't know what it's gonna be tomorrow, though. Well, I'll deal with it when I have to. I mean, right now I'm set, and if there's anything I wanna buy, I might try to buy it before May comes, just to be sure. Uh 'Cause I'm thinking about a couple of things. I'm always thinking about stuff, but I'm gonna have to think really serious hard over the next week or so about anything that I wanna get that I can get now and not worry about it later. Like the 150 to 600 Olympus lens, or even 90 millimeter macro lens. These are 2 lenses I'm thinking about that could be affected quite a bit, right? Uh, we'll see. My Z6 had 3,000 clicks on it, and I thought, "Wow, that's really good. That's a really good price." I know Canadian dollars are much higher, so, like, if I pay 500, it might be like 1,000 Canadian. I don't know the exact convert. That's really good. And the Great Vanzini says, "I got a Pen F that overheated. You could fry eggs on it." Seller claim I did no, the board in it is bad, the circuit board. Yeah, it happens. You didn't do anything to it. It's defective. It was either defective when you got it or it went defective after you got it, but it's defective now. You don't wanna use it. And Roman says, "The OM3 is very capable camera. I used it for 1 day, but the high speed focusing." Yeah. Well, compared to your original Pen F that you have, yeah, it's like night and day. And then the original Pen F autofocus was not that great to begin with. Relative to other OM system cameras, it was probably the worst one. Uh, Now that said, like, let's say the EM10 Mark II is a 10 out of 10, that the Pen F would be like an 8 out of 10. It's not quite as good as the EM10, you know what I mean? It's not like a huge difference, but It is noticeable, particularly with the continuous autofocus, it's really bad, but they all are, to be honest. With the with any contrast detect system, it's pretty rough in autofocus. Usability, any. And Roman says, I used OM3 only one day, but like the Pen F viewfinder on the side more. Okay, I'm fine either way. Rob, you need a nap. Have a great. Oh, I don't have time for that. I have to leave like in about 20 minutes. So, but I've been on here a while. Uh, yeah, I'm with you on this, Chuck. Well, I'm always amused by photographers that say OM needs to have a full-size sensor. The big advantage is the OM is lighter and has long lens that you can actually carry. Why would I want to? Yeah, I know. And the other argument I always hear is about, you know, wildlife photographers higher resolution sensors to crop in, right? Like 20 megapixels is enough. And I have to point out that the Micro Four Thirds is already cropped. It's already cropped in. So that's why you can use a 300 millimeter focal length and get a 600 millimeter equivalent because you're already cropped in. I mean, long story short. So when I hear that argument, it's valid. If you're talking about two full frame sensors, one is 24 megapixels and one is, 60. Yeah, the wildlife photographer is going to want more pixels if they have to choose between two full frame sensors. But when you're talking about a full frame sensor and a Micro Four Thirds, the Micro Four Thirds is already cropped in. So saying that wildlife photographers want more megapixels to crop in really only applies when you're comparing apples to apples. But a Micro Four Thirds sensor and a full frame sensor, that's not apples to apples. A four thirds sensor is already cropped. So, millimeter for millimeter on the focal length, you're getting more pixels on your subject than you are with a 60 megapixel A7R5, right? I don't know how I can explain that without diagrams and all that, but long story short is the pixel density on the Micro Four Thirds sensor is higher than it is on a 60 megapixel A7R5. So if I put a 90 millimeter lens on both cameras, right, I'm going to get more pixels on the Micro Four Thirds camera than I will on an 8.5 with the same exact focal length. Because people are like, well, I'll get a 600 millimeter f4 on my A7 whatever Sony camera, and then I'm going to get, like the Sony A1 has a 50 megapixel sensor, so you're getting 50 megapixels with a 600 millimeter f4, $20,000 setup, but money aside, you get an OM1 with a 300 millimeter f4. We're both getting the same field of view, right, at this point. And yeah, the A1 is going to outperform the OM1 because you got a 600 millimeter lens on it. So you're getting the full 50 megapixels on it, and you can crop in more than you will. That's not a fair comparison. You need to put a 300 millimeter lens on the A1, a 300 millimeter on the OM1, and then try to crop in and see what you get. You're going to get more detail on the OM1 than you will on the A1 in that scenario, right? Because the bird is going to be this big on the A7R5 or A1, and it's going to be this big on the OM1. You're getting more pixels onto your subject for every millimeter in focal length. But people never really talk about that, right? About the pixel density of the sensor. They talk about, oh, low light, only 20 megapixels, you can't crop in, blah. Like it's already cropped, you know? And I've seen the noise on a 50 or 60 megapixel sensor. It's not any better than the old. If you have to crop in, you're going to get the same noise. So if you have the money for an A1 and a 600 millimeter f4, yeah, you're going to get better pictures. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to argue about that. But if you want to talk about just the pure math and physics of a smaller sensor with a higher pixel density using the same focal length, 300 millimeters and 300 millimeters, you can't argue that. The all-in-one is going to give you a sharper or give you more detail than a 50 megapixel sensor in that scenario. Okay. Oh, there's so many more chats here. I can't get to them. But oh, your pineapple you sent it back, Brave Ends, and Andrew's got to go. I got to go. I'm so sorry, guys. I have a photo shoot I have to go to within the next hour. So I'm gonna get some coffee and go do that. And then Tuesday, I should be back on Tuesday morning and then also Tuesday evening. Don't forget to be there for the Tuesday live stream with the ambassadors. And again, thanks everyone today for all of your support through memberships and donations and coffees. And thank you again, Marco, for your very generous gift in the email today. I really appreciate that. You guys have a great rest of your weekend and keep shooting.